Breakneck through the Bible, 2017, 2018, class number 19. Alrighty, I hope you all had a wonderful Purim. Some of you I happen to have seen over Purim, some of you I didn't see over Purim, some of you I don't remember if I saw you over Purim, some of you don't remember if you saw me over Purim. Alrighty, what happens in Purim stays in Purim.
Now we're ready for Pesach.
Now we're ready for Pesach. Okay. Now we are just a mere 3.5 weeks away from Pesach, and
wait. There is a big.
Okay, so thank you, Borders. You shoot him if you need to. Okay, so we are.
With his aim.
Borders. I trust Borders with my life.
I will be precise.
Okay, so last week we talked about Purim, and so it was just a most wonderful holiday. The week before we started, right, we're in the middle of the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, really, or of Adam and woman in the Garden of Eden, right? And so we're in the middle of talking about the story that went on. We talked about how this is the root of all sins in this world, right? Or down to the three sins that are mentioned in the Garden of Eden, right? And remember the three sins that are in the Garden of Eden?
Jealousy, being like God, or wanting to be God.
And desire, right? Okay, right. So remember that we said Eve she wanted to aid the snake, the hook that the snake got it was, you said you wanted to be you want to be God, right? Instead of being subservient, you want to be God, right? That's always our number one. Like we always like being God. We like being the boss. It's all about me. Who cares about it? Like I make the rules and nobody else, right? So that's sin number one. Sin number two is that she looked at the fruit and it was desirous in her eyes. And I said desire. And sin number three was, you see, they got it wrong. They called it a streetcar named Desire, when it's really the fruit named Desire. Okay? And then sin number three was that after she ate from it and realized that she's going to die, she said, oh my gosh, my husband's going to get to marry the next cute chick that walks in. And she says, over my dead body. Is that going to happen? He's coming with me. Right? And here, this really come eat from the tree, come eat the nice hot challah. And she fed it to him. And those were again the three sins. And that all sins till today are rooted in those three sins. Okay, they're rooted in those three sins: to be God, desire, and jealousy. You could have either one, you could have either two, you could have either three. But those are the three sins. Yeah.
So I've heard several times, red tree, challah.
Yeah. Okay, right. Okay, so the tree that was in the Garden of Eden was, contrary to popular belief and contrary to Snow White, was not an apple tree.
Or a fruit tree?
It was a fruit tree.
Oh.
But in those days, bread used to grow on trees.
How is that?
It's a problem. Bread grows on trees. And you never saw a bread tree?
No.
Oh my gosh, you were dating yourself.
You can buy one at Walmart.
What? A bread tree.
Excuse my ignorance.
No, it's okay. You and the other 99.9999% of the people, the Talmud actually has a discussion. There are four opinions what type of tree they ate from. Right? One says a fig, one says a grape, one says it was an estrog, and the fourth opinion, which is the majority of people, say it was a bread tree.
So that's what they eat, the bread?
And that's what they ate bread. And that's why, just if you, how do you know it's a bread tree? The proof of the pudding is because when God curses man and woman after eating from the tree, what does God say to man and woman? But now you're going to eat bread by the sweat of your brow, which meant that before they were not going to eat by the sweat of their brow; they would just pluck right off the tree.
Regular bread tree, bread.
Bread, yeah, bread. Let me ask you a question: what's stranger, that bread should go in a tree, or that wheat should grow in the ground after it rots? Only after it rots, when you put the seed in the ground, and only after it, you pour water on it and make sure that it rots. Only when it rots does it begin to grow. And then after you grow, you get this nice brown wheat. And then you take that and then you grind it up into mush and turn that into powder. And then you take the powder and then you put water into it, and then you make a mush. And then you take this mush and then you stick it into fire. And only after you do all those things does pop out bread, what you call normal, and I call abnormal. Right? or that it should grow in a tree. What is stranger?
The wheat.
The whole process.
The whole process thing is crazy. You actually stop and think about it. You know, they tell a great story. They say the guy says, "We would get bread from?" He says, "Okay, I'll show you." He says, "The first thing you do is you take a seed." He says, "Okay," and he said, "You put it in the ground." He says, "Why are you putting it in the dirt? You're crazy." He says, "Just hang with me." And he says, "Okay, but now make sure you put a lot of water on there." He said, "Why am I putting water on there?" He says, "Well, to make sure that the seed gets nice and wet and it should rot." He said, "Wait a second, you tell me you're going to put the seed in the ground, it's going to rot, and that's how you're going to make bread?" You say, "Shh, just listen, right? Listen how it's going along." And I put it in, right? We put the water in it and it rots. Okay, then it goes ahead and then it rots. And then after it rots, so the guy says, he looks, then he finally sees this nice green thing, green shoot growing. He says, "Oh, very nice." And then he comes back a few months later and it's nice, tall, right, wheat stalk. So he says, "Okay." And now it makes sense. He said, then he says, "But wait a second. We go and we take a tractor and we cut it all down." He said, "Cutting it all down, it's beautiful stuff." He says, No, you have to let it dry. Did it dry? It's green, and you turn into this brown stuff. He said, "Yeah." Okay, then you take the wheat, and then you take it to the threshing floor, right? And then and first you thresh it, right? So first you beat it all up, right? You take this thing and you beat it. So what are you doing? He says, "Okay," and then you take it and then you throw it up in the wind, right? And then it blows into these piles. The guy's looking at you like you've lost your marbles. Just listen. Okay, fine. You go. Then look, he says, look at these beautiful. I have now a whole handful of seeds. This is just amazing. The guy says, "Oh, now I get it." He said, No. Now you take it and you have to put it into these 2 stones and you got to grind it up and turn it into nothing. He said, "You give me powder." He said, "What's powder?" He said, No, let's see. Then you take powder and then you turn. He said, take water, mush it in there. He says, "Oh my gosh, now you made it into this doughy stuff. What is this?" He said, No. He turns on this hot oven, flaming oven, and you stick it inside. He said, "You're burning it now. What are you doing? You're crazy." And finally he goes and he pulls out nice hot bread. Right? From an objective outsider who has never seen the process, what would he tell you each step along the way?
You're crazy.
You're crazy.
Yeah.
Right? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Right? And what's the real answer? You are crazy. But that's how you make bread. Right? This is the steps. We know that's how it goes.
Rabbi,
And right, so when God created it, He made it much simpler. Just go out, you pluck off your hot bread off the tree, and bang, you had bread.
Is it challah?
Yeah, sure.
It is challah?
It was challah, yeah, sure, yeah.
Twisted challah?
Twisted bread. No, the reason why we have braided challah is we have braided challah is because when God separated woman from man,
Yeah.
and she brought woman to man, she braided her hair.
oh wow.
Okay, to make her look beautiful, and brought her to man. And since woman now, right, so women usually the woman bakes the bread, right, and brings that, and that goes ahead and takes that bread and brings it to her husband that he can make the hamotzi on Shabbos. So she is when she does that, she's rectifying the sin of woman in the garden. Because in the garden, the woman gave man the bread that killed him. Now she's bringing him the bread that will give him life.
Wow.
And she braids it to show that that's how God brought her to man, right? And to remind him that she was brought to man by God. Yeah.
2 questions. The first question, prior to Chava and Adam being separated,
Mm-hmm.
did they have children?
No.
So how did they start having children afterwards? And second
later.
question is that
It comes later.
second
No.
question is that the bread that you're telling me that we were basically punished for what we did.
Right.
They did. So they had to go work and everything else.
Right.
On the other hand, every Shabbat we have a challah, we have a hamotzi, and we still have to do the same thing that they do. But in our side, it's a blessing. For them, it's a curse. I don't get it.
No. The answer was that bread tree they were not supposed to eat until Shabbat came. If they would have waited till Shabbat, they would have been all fine. And that was their problem. The problem was they didn't wait till Shabbat. Right? They just went ahead and they did it beforehand. That was their problem.
So why do we have challah? Why do we have hamotzi?
No. So why do we eat bread? Because that's how we sanctify the day. We sanctify the day by having a meal, right? And therefore, right, in Shabbat, we're actually supposed to have 3 meals, and so the way you have a meal is with bread. Yosef. Yeah.
Now it all makes sense because whenever you say hamotzi lechem min haaretz,
Ah.
how is it that
Very good, right? That excellent. That's the question they ask, because what blessing do you make on bread? So you make V'barachat Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz, right? God do the social blessings, our God, King of the universe, who brings out bread from the ground. Now, if you think about that, it's a strange blessing to make, because does he bring bread from the ground, or he brings wheat from the ground that we have to do these 10 or 15 step process until we turn it into bread? So, right, you're following? Right, so it's a little stretch to say he brings out bread from the ground. So they say as follows, they say, because in the garden, what blessing did they make on the bread in the Garden of Eden?
There was a blessing.
They're sure there absolutely was a blessing.
They were
How could
not obligated to anything. They had everything they needed.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question? Is it manners to take something from somebody and not say please and thank you?
But they were given a gift.
It's bad manners. Thank you,
But
Yosef.
they were given
Michael,
a gift.
in America, it's bad manners to not to say please and thank you. Okay? So if God gives us something nice, don't you make a blessing and say thank you, God, for the wonderful things that you give me? Right? And then after you finish eating, what do you say? Thank you, God. Right? Birkat Hamazon. So it's just plain old manners. Right? Before you eat, you say, God, can I please have it? Right? And thank you for giving to me. And then when you then you say, God, thank you so much. I am eating and I'm satisfied. And that's where the blessings come from.
So min haaretz is referring to the tree.
No. So the blessing they made in the Garden of Eden was not hamotzi lechem min haaretz, who brings out bread from the ground. It was hamotzi lechem min. No. So in the Garden of Eden, it was who brought out bread from the ground, because the bread grew ready made. So that's why you make the blessing of hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Right now, once that was established as the blessing, so now even though now it's many more steps until we get to the bread, but still, since it was established that way, we continue making that same blessing. That's one explanation where the blessing comes from hamotzi lechem min haaretz, who brings up bread from the ground, even though normally it's not thought of that way. The other reason given is because when they got the manna in the desert, and they got the manna in the desert. So when they got the manna in the desert, what blessing did they make on the manna?
It was min shamayim.
Ben hamotzi lechem, who brought up bread, min hashamayim, from the heaven, who brought up bread from the ground. So once that became the blessing, when they went into the land of Israel, no longer bread came from the sky, it now came from the ground. So we kept everything the same, except instead of now saying from the heaven, we said from the earth. Right? You see, so we're very much creatures of habit, by the way. Right? We tend to think of what we do as normal, everything else is strange. Right? Meaning, if you were born in the desert, where did you think bread comes from? Heaven. That was normal. And if someone told you, one day you're going to have to do this whole planting bit, what would we tell them? They're crazy. Right? Now we tell you, by the way, right? But now you're born today. Where do you think bread comes from?
The supermarket.
Comes from the supermarket, right? Right. But you think it comes from the ground. So what blessing do you make on it? Right. So, and if I tell you, by the way, bread used to fall from the sky, what would you tell me? I hit my head. I need to go lie down. Right. That's what you tell me, right? Like I'm crazy. Right. And so what's the real answer? The real answer is that we just get used to where we are. But that's where the bread came from, and that was a day 8 day from the bread tree. Okay, so we have these three sins of why they ate from the tree, right? And then at that point in time, right, the root of all sins till today, right? If you actually stop and think about it, anytime you sin, it's because of either A, B, or C, or C, right? Meaning it's either because you want to be God, you don't want God telling you what to do, you're doing it because desire, or you're doing it out of jealousy. Right? Okay. Right. So any one, 2, or 3 of those reasons. Right. When you go ahead and do something like that. Right. That's where it comes from. Okay. That's really where the root of it is, and you have to make sure that you go ahead and you're good to go.
Jealousy in respect, it's not envy, it's jealousy.
Jealousy. Right. Jealousy. Well, envy. Right. Envy might be a byproduct of jealousy. Right. Yeah.
Excuse my ignorance again. So the Christian world.
You missed 2 classes. You get very ignorant. Before you left, you were very smart.
I was feeling ignorant Wednesday.
Oh,
And I knew it was because I.
and you missed class on Monday. I get it. Yeah.
They call it the original sin. Is that their original sin?
No. The Christians
Yeah,
call the original sin is sex.
truly.
Okay, because they say what's the first thing they did after they got thrown out of the garden is chapter 4. It says they had children. Right, so you see, they only had sex after they sinned. Hence, that's the original sin. There's only one little problem with that.
That's not the way.
That's not what really happened.
They already have
Right? See, after God separated man and woman, right? Man and woman actually had 2 children in the Garden of Eden. Actually, 5 children in the Garden of Eden. 5, because
Before they ate?
before they ate,
Yes.
Cain was born with a twin sister, and Abel was born with 2 twin sisters. Right? And it actually happened before they were thrown, before they even sinned in the garden. So it's just actually a poor mystery. It's a poor translation that really that gets them to where it comes from. And so it's but we'll talk more about that at the beginning of chapter 4.
I always thought that the original sin was eating the apple for the bread.
And so it's I think there are different Christian. And again, Christianity has
sexual.
what?
The Catholics are.
Okay, it's broad, so I don't know. Excuse my ignorance. I am not a scholar on other religions. I'm barely a scholar on my own religion. I'm still working on that. I'm trying to get that down pat. When I finish my religion, then we can start looking at other things. Yeah.
When they sinned, when they ate the apple, did the children get punished too?
Yeah, sure. When they ate
So
meat
whatever
from
parents do, the children do get punished?
that's a great question. So the answer is, if your children are young enough, then yes, then it goes with the parents.
Wow.
Yeah, because one of the reasons a child will die before their mitzvah is the sins of the parent.
Even though if the children are innocent.
Right, correct.
Yeah.
You mean
Harsh
all
punishment.
children?
Children by definition are innocent.
I know, but isn't a child also a 50-year-old man? That's my child.
You know, it's always your child. But yes.
But it could be a 50-year-old man or
No,
a 40-year-old
so the Torah says it has 2 seemingly contradictory statements. In one place it says children will die for the sins of the parents. In one place it says children will not die for the sins of the parents.
If they will.
Right? So the Talmud says, how do the 2 things work out? So the Talmud says one answer is depends how old they are. Right? If there's a child is below 12 or below 13, then they can be a punishment of the parents. If it's not that way, right? If the child is over that, then it will not die for the sins of the
Over
parents.
what age?
12 or 13, bar mitzvah.
So before 12 they might die.
Yeah, for the sins of the parents.
For
So
sins of the parents.
Yeah.
Even if they are absolutely innocent. As a punishment, right?
Yeah, it's punishment to the parents.
So the children will die. And if they are over 13, then they might survive if they will
Right.
continue the righteous path.
Right. And the other answer is that it depends if they continue in the wickedness of their parents or not. And if they become righteous, then the sins of the parents have absolutely no bearing on them. If they're wicked and continue in the sins of the parents, then not only will they get punished for their own sins, they'll get punished then even for their parents' and grandparents' sins.
Oh, wow.
It's interesting.
So
Difficult
Bentzi-
to understand why.
I'll tell you a beautiful idea from my father. My father has a beautiful idea on this, actually. Because it's in the 10 Commandments, by the way. Right? The children, right? And God punishes children to the 3rd or 4th generation. Right? That's what it says, right? To the 3rd or 4th. So why does it say 3rd or 4th generation? Is it 3 generations? Or is it 4 generations? Well, God doesn't know whether it's 3 or 4. Right? It says right to the 3rd or 4th generation.
Because they might lose one?
No, so my father said a beautiful idea. He says most people, the way of the world is you will know your children and you will know your grandchildren. Your great grandchildren, maybe yeah, maybe no. So it says you'll be punished till 3rd. So when it says you'll be punished to the 3rd or 4th generation, it means if they will be influenced by the sin of their grandfather or great grandfather, depending on how many generations they have. And that's why it says the third or the 4th generation.
Well, it's hard to understand that children who are before 12 years old, they get punished even though
They could be. It could be. It doesn't say they will. It could be.
Could be.
Could be. Yeah.
excuse me, after after 12 or 15? Is it could be or
12 or
will
13.
be?
No. 12 with once at 12 or 13, they will not be punished for the sins of the parents unless they continue the sins of the parents. And then when they get their own punishment, the sins of their parents and or grandparents or great grandparents will be added on to them.
Okay. So you said a couple of weeks ago, and I want to quote you.
It's all on tape, by the way.
Oh, okay.
That's the problem with taping this. You can say, Rabbi, you said in class number 13 that minute, right, 1 hour and 27 minutes and 4 seconds. Look what you said. Like, now it's a problem. It's all on tape. It's like, I'm in trouble.
I like to
now.
do that right now.
Go ahead.
Anyway, we were talking about guilt. You said,
Right.
Forget about guilt. You said something about, let's not talk about guilt. Guilt is,
Right. Guilt is not healthy.
It's not. Of course, it's not healthy.
If you justify
But what a burden. I mean, how could you not feel guilty? God forbid, 1,000,000 times. Based upon my Torah.
Mm-hmm.
If I lose a child.
Because you have no idea why you lost that child.
But it says in my Bible that it's because I sinned.
No, it says that might be one reason. There are 50 reasons. There are 1,000,000 reasons.
I know, but once you hear that,
Right. No. So that's where guilt is wrong. Because guilt says that's one you're guilty of, and you're guilty of it, right? And that's what you live with when it's not necessarily true.
is a sin being a bad Jew?
There are 613 ways, right? That is considered a sin. And that is considered a way in which we mess up our relationship with God. But I want to tell you something. If I'm not nice to you, that's a sin. Right? That's not being a good Jew either. Right? People tend to think of being a Jew, being good or bad in terms of how I act towards God. You should know there are probably more commandments between man and man than there are between man and God. Right? To understand, it's tougher to be a religious Jew between man and man than between man and God.
You're still in exile because to men.
Right, we've been in exile for the last 1950 years because we can't get our act together how to treat our fellow man. Man is much more complicated. You know why man is much more complicated? Because every person who you meet, you intersect, right? You have no idea where this person is coming from. They have no idea where you're coming from. Right? And so you bump into him, you meet him, but you don't know where he's coming from, you don't know where you're going to. You know, there was somebody, there was actually I think it was a glasses commercial, but it really was fantastic. When they showed somebody walking through the airport. And you pass millions of people in the airport. Everyone's rushing somewhere. But you have no idea where they're going. One person might be rushing to their wedding. One person might be rushing to a sick parent or to a funeral. One person might be rushing to the birth of a child, a grandchild. Right? And you have no idea. And when you meet people, you have no idea where they're up to and where they're going and what they're up to, right? You just have no idea. And so and so what happens is, and then we, depending on our state of mind, what they do, we'll interpret it based on where we are and what we're coming from. And so what happens is this leaves room for a tremendous misunderstanding. Right? And the Torah says you have to learn how to treat people with compassion and kindness and caring. Right? And to give them the benefit of the doubt. And just a lot of things that the Torah says you're required to do. Right? Because you have no idea. And not only that, you could know exactly what's gone on in the person's life, but what you don't know is that how it started. Right? Meaning what pros and cons, what attributes does that person have, what attributes does the person not have? And based on those attributes, is he doing the right thing, is he not doing the right thing? Right? You're following, right?
Of course I'm following.
And so therefore, people are always so much more complicated. Right? People are just complicated. Right? What goes on? And we think we know the answer, right? We think we know the answers, right? But not necessarily do we, right? And we're darn sure we do, right? When we're darn sure that one thing you do know is that whatever you think is really not what happened. In fact, this is instilled in Jewish law. You know that? This is codified in Jewish law. You want to hear one of the most amazing things? The Talmud says like this: in order, two people have dispute. So what do you have to do? Bring two witnesses. And two witnesses have to testify. Okay? That's what has to happen. Two witnesses have to come in and two witnesses have to testify. Now there's only one little problem. What's the problem?
Rarely do you have two witnesses.
Oh, no, or you never can have two witnesses who saw the same thing. Why?
They have their own point of view.
Everyone's got their own point of view. And everyone's got their own pair of glasses. And therefore, listen to this. Says the Talmud, if two witnesses come in and say the exact same story, the Talmud says you throw out the testimony as contrived testimony because it's impossible they saw the same thing. And it's the only way two people can say the exact same thing if they made it up. So we throw it out. If they go ahead, right? That's the extent to which two witnesses cannot see the same exact thing. So much more so. I'll show you something amazing. It's amazing. How many different facets to the Torah are there? Facets.
I've heard it's 70.
So very good, right? There's a famous thing, Shivim Panim LaTorah. Right? There are 70 facets, right? There's 70 faces to Torah. Now you want to hear something really cool?
Yes.
There's really 600,000 facets to Torah. Why?
600,000 words.
No, letters. But there were 600,000 Jews who stood in Mount Sinai.
Oh.
And who each one saw the revelation of God from a little different angle. And everyone would swear to you what he saw was what he saw.
What's the truth?
Right, but I was on this side of the mountain, you were on that side of the mountain. And you're over here and I was over here. Right? So what it means there are seven. So why do we say that there are 70 facets to the Torah? We said there are 70 main ways, right? There are 70 main ways of looking at it, right? So I guess you take 360 view divided by 70, so it comes out to roughly 5, like 5 degrees is considered one facet, a little more than that, right? But that's what you have. You have. But that's the 5. That's the fast that we talk about, right? It's because it's impossible. Everyone stood at Mount Sinai, and there's no way. There's no way everybody saw it. I took my son last night. Somebody called me up. And said, Rabbi, call me up at 3:00 in the afternoon. He says, I have tickets for the Mavericks game at 6:00. I have great seats. And he says, my wife's not feeling well. Would you like to take your son to the game? So I said okay. I said 6:00 had to be Sunday night. I'm not giving a class. I was available from 6 to 9. I said I could finally take my son. I said great. I said I would love to. I said thank you so much. I'm going to pick up tickets. We're going to go. We happened to have gotten seats, courtside seats. Okay, we were 3 rows behind the Mavericks bench. Okay, so we're sitting down there. Right in these seats, and what happened was, we were so close that the Maverick coach stood during the game, right in front of us. So every time there was any ball play like right in front of us, we couldn't see anything because the coach was right in front of us. So we spent like half the night looking up at the jumbotron on the it was on top of our heads, looking up, trying to watch the game, right? But what happened was we had one angle, lots of people in the arena, right? And they were from lots of different sides and lots of different spaces, right? And so everyone was looking at it from a different place. Everyone saw something different, right? And so that's really, and that's really what happens at Mount Sinai. So there's 70 facets because at Mount Sinai, the Jews were surrounding around the mountain. So you might have been on the east side, you might have been on the west side, you might have been on the north side, that might have been on the south side, right? What were you seeing? Right. Okay. So right. So that's the idea, and that's the idea of always seeing that every person is unique and everyone sees what they see. Right, and that's impossible for two people to see the exact same thing. One second. Yeah.
So with the statement you just made up, do you agree that we live in a very fair world?
In a very
fair. Anything that happens is fair.
Fair. So let me tell you something.
And then one more thing. What happened to the promise that God gave us? I thought He loves us and we're like buddies together with God. I mean, you tell me that I should do 100% perfect with my life, but we still have a contract with the God, no?
No. So like this. Number one, is it a fair world? So we as Jews have what's called hashgacha pratis. We have divine province, individual divine province. Everything that happens to me is from God. To the extent, listen to the extent. If you want to take out a quarter from your pocket and you reach your hand into your pocket and you pull out anything else besides a quarter, that actually is called a punishment, whatever. That's from God that you didn't pull out the right coin. That's how far it goes, right? There's nothing in this world that happens that is not supposed to happen to me. What is my job? My job is how do I react to what happens? That's my job. Do I react in the appropriate way, or do I act in a not such appropriate way? What am I going to get judged on? My reactions, right? My reactions, right? My actions, right? But my to what happens in this world, I'm going to get judged on how I act, not the results. Because I want to tell you a little secret. You don't control results.
That's true.
Okay, you don't control, and I'll tell you even a little more secret. There's not a lot that you really control. There's only one thing that you control. And what's that? That's yourself and really how you react to a situation. Right? Because you could choose to act one way, and one of you may or may not make it. You may or may not, right? What you do, right? What you do is irrelevant. Right? And that's our job in this world, is to understand that the only thing I do control is my actions and how I react to situations. Everything that happens in this world is a gift from God to me, right? Right? Everything that happens in this world. Listen carefully. Yes, is it fair? Not only is it fair, everything that happens in this world is a gift from Hashem.
So
He only has my best interest in mind.
that's only for Jewish people?
And yes.
How about for non-Jewish people?
Not.
Like what's going on in Syria?
Yeah.
For 8 years.
So when it comes to non-Jews, we Jews have a special relationship with God, and we have what's called this hashgacha pratis, this individual relationship between us and God. Okay, it's called hashgacha pratis, right? Individualized for me and myself. When it comes to the other nations of the world, God outsources it to the angel in charge of each nation. But for us, right, for us Jews, it's called hashgacha pratis. Right, God works on an individual level. Everything we get is a gift from Hashem. Not only a gift. I want to tell you something. If you had a magic wand and you can change anything about your life, don't change anything. The only thing you should change maybe the way you reacted to certain situations where you didn't react in a positive way. But anything that happens to you is a special gift from Hashem, made for you to accomplish what you need to accomplish in this world.
So when people in Syria die, should I feel sorry for them?
And the answer is yes. Now the answer is we feel bad that there's such a travesty going on, right? There's such a horrible thing going on in the world, right? But again, right? God has, right? We have such limited vision of what goes on in the world, right? We have a hard enough time running our own life. Now we want to tell God how to run the world, right? I mean, I do want to point out there's roughly 8 billion people in the world. That's a lot of people. I don't know if you know that. That's a heck of a lot of people, right? And we have a hard enough time running our own lives. So let God be God and we be me, right? And let's run my life. Right? The question is, what do I need to do about it? Right? What's my job? How do I react? Yada yada. Those are the questions you need to ask. Right? God is running the world, right? And we people have to do our part.
So the angels who in charge of other nations, they're just kind of messengers from God.
They're messengers from God, right? So it's considered it's like a
Step down.
A step down, right? It's a step down. That's really what it is. Yes.
So, doesn't this fly in the face of tshuva? In other words, what I've heard is that God will always forgive you.
Absolutely.
If you come to the gates, you're in. He'll forgive you.
Absolutely.
And so, how can He, at the same time, hold over my head for 3 or 4 generations of, I'm trying to picture in my head what the sins of those fathers could be. In modern times, I would think that they were terrorists or killers or murderers or.
So as long as you don't do those sins, you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, but there are daily sins
That people
which sometimes are chronic.
So
and you fight to overcome them.
Right.
And you do that through teshuva by returning.
Absolutely.
And so there has to be an asterisk on that. The idea of tshuva, of God forgiving us when we say I'm sorry, is such an incredible idea. It's an idea that really, if you stop and think about it, makes absolutely no sense. But in at the end of the day, it's one of the greatest gifts that God has given mankind. Right? That we're able to go ahead teshuva, Teshuva, right? Teshuva, right? Teshuva is the ability that God says, if you say you're sorry and make amends, I am willing to erase it. That the sin, not only will you not get punished for it, the sin never happened. It's expunged from the record. Really expunged. Not the ones you pay Google to wipe out. It's truly expunged. It's gone. There is no record of that sin at all. It's an amazing idea when you actually stop and think about it. Right? And so God gave us that gift. Use it, man. Use it.
So as
One
long as,
thing I
want to say. So as long as I do my job, I clear my father's and my grandfather's sins.
It means they won't be held against you. Yeah, absolutely.
I can clean this mess up somehow.
You clean up your mess, and you clean up your mess, and they have the merit that they have a son who's such a great person. Yes.
If everything we get is a gift from God, does that include the bad stuff?
Absolutely.
I don't want that gift.
It's very interesting. So I want to tell you something. The Talmud tells the following story. There was a great sage who got sick. And another sage came to him. And the sage was complaining, like it hurts. He says, give me your hand and I'll heal you. So the sage said, okay. He took his hand, he picked him off the bed, he healed him on the spot. He went to another sage who was also sick. And the sage says, I'm in pain. He says, give me your hand. He says, I'll heal you too. So he says, but then I'm going to miss the message that God's trying to teach me. He
The
says,
message could have been, I'll bring you a sage to heal you.
Possibly, correct. You're correct. But before you get healed, make sure that's what it is. It means everything that happens in our life is a test from Hashem. Not a test, and I don't mean test in mean like is it. Let me change that word. Everything that we get in life is an opportunity for us to rise to become godly. That's how it is, okay? The good news is, and life is full of these tests or opportunities. When you've passed all the tests, you die. The good news is, you don't have to worry about passing each test, because till you pass the test, you'll keep on getting it again. Okay? You following? Right? You'll keep on getting the test until you pass it. So that's how life works. Life works that we keep on getting these God said to teach us lessons. It's for us to make choices, right? For us to exercise our free will, to make godly choices, to become more godly people. Right? And when we learn those tests, when we learn those opportunities, right? Those opportunities that we learn help us become godly and closer to God. So what we do is we might want to say to God, listen, God, can you teach me the lesson in a less painful manner? Right? You know, God, this is burdening me a lot. Like, how could let's renegotiate the deal. Or what we say is, you know, the example is, you ever get those, like you get like a raindrop, like it comes down hard and like just hits you like kind of like just like hit, like it's bothersome, but it's you know. So sometimes we say to God, instead of dropping the boulder on my head at once, maybe break it down into like 1,000 pebbles, right? So that each time that I get hit with it, it'll be annoying, but I'll move on. This example I use, it just happened with me recently. It's a funny example just because I found it humorous. Okay, I got this fungus on my toenail.
What?
Fungus on my toenail.
Oh,
Athlete's foot.
No. So I texted. It's great with all these phones. I took a picture of it. I texted to my dermatologist. I said, you have to worry about this. So he said, yeah, go get it checked out right away, which is a bad sign. Because, you know, the good thing about dermatology is usually you don't have to worry about anything. You have like 3 or 6 months before anything happens anyway. But he said, go check it out right away. So I was concerned, you know, right? And then I realized that it could be, what's it called? Cancer. You know, there's a cancer that whatever it is, that grows. And so
Toenail cancer.
So I forgot what it's called, but it's not a good thing.
gangrene?
No, not gangrene. No. It was. So I go to the dermatologist. I called the dermatologist. He says, "Okay, come and see me right away." I said, "Okay." So I go into the dermatologist, and she looks at it and she says, "Okay, thank God, it's just a fungus." So I said, "Okay, well, how do we make the toenail white again?" So she goes, "Okay, I can give you a cream that you put on like twice a day for 6 months, and there's a 40% chance that it will go away." I said, "What's my other choice?" She said, "Do nothing." I said, "Then what happens?" She said, "Well, you know, the toenail could fall off, etc., whatever it is. I don't know what it is." So I said, "Putting on twice a day, it ain't happening, and for 40% chance, like, just ridiculous." I turned to God, and I said, "Okay." I went to the doctor. I did my shoppings. I said, "But you're the boss." I said, "And thank you for making my toenail turn black." I said, because of all the things that I could think of that God could hit me with, my toenail turning black was like really not high up on my list. Because it's not too often that I look at my toenail, you know what I'm saying? Like that's just one of those things that I really like, you know, it's just out of sight, out of mind, you know. I'm not getting my toenails painted, and it's just like, right, the toenail's black, my toenail's black. Okay, and this thing, but the toenail's falling off. I said, you know, God, and I was torn. I'll tell you my dilemma. My dilemma was, of all the things that God had to give me to rectify something that I did wrong, my toenail turning black was probably not high up on the totem pole.
So you didn't do anything all that wrong.
Oh, I don't ever know. No, I'm sure God was being kind. So he downgraded me from what's it called, a misdemeanor, and this was a misdemeanor on my toenail. Okay, so what happened was, I said I'm torn. Like, if this is my yisurim, right, if this is my affliction, so I accept it with love, God. I'll take it. But for some reason, it was on my head, like it was just bothering me. Like if this is what it has to be. I kid you not. The black is gone off my toenail. I don't know why. I don't know how. I'm waiting to go back I'm waiting to have another chance to tell him. Say, by the way, remember my toe? Well, I just want to show you what it looks like now. Right?
Well, you don't have to hand it to them.
Right. Well, I've been cutting it because it seemed I don't know, somehow it just grew off, and it just grew off the toe. So I got the little tip left that's black. That's
Did you
it.
use medication from dermatologist?
No medication. I wasn't gonna put it on. It was twice a day. It just ain't
The
happening.
problem is, they
So
made
what
the
was the
wrong
prayer you
diagnosis.
said?
They made the wrong diagnosis.
What was
So very good. So that's what I was going to say. So my dermatologist going to say, "Oh, we must have made the wrong diagnosis." Right? That's what I'm going to say. Right? And absolutely, that's always their answer. Well, Rabbi, it's the wrong diagnosis. And says, "Okay, that's your answer. I have a different answer." And I said, and you know what? Yours is possible. Mine for sure is right. No, right? God's in charge. So it's.
But it's a teaching moment for God, because now the dermatologist will recognize that she made an error.
Right. Actually, she happens to be a religious dermatologist, so she knows there's a God too. So that's okay. But that's an example, right? So I said to God, I said, let me learn the lesson. I couldn't believe it because I'm really not such a vain guy. Like how I look doesn't rank that high up on my list. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No one sees you.
right. You know what I'm saying? And if for some reason it bothered me, and it was weird. Like it was just, but it was God saying, okay, Epstein, here's a little pebble. Right? Here's the pebble in the shoe. You know what I'm saying? And that would be my biggest challenge in the world. Like, okay, I'm ready to take it on. And so they say if a person goes through 6 months and doesn't have a problem, he better check into his deeds because God really doesn't like him. right? But these are all opportunities, right, for us to create a relationship with God and just to remind us that there's a God in the world and He runs this world. You know what I'm saying? Like that's really the message that we need to learn. What's it, Yosef?
Yeah. So okay. So you know how you said the Jewish people, have the divine, providence. Is that
Providence,
right?
yeah.
Okay, providence. But the Gentiles, the non-Jewish,
Man, have a step removed.
So is this what it means whenever? Because I read it somewhere. It said that the Jewish people are not controlled by the Mazalot.
Very good. That's exactly what it is. Man,
Not controlled by
the Mazolos are the astrology, the astrological signs.
We're not controlled.
We're not controlled. That we're above them, right? They have absolutely no bearing on
God
us.
said to Abraham, let me take you out.
Right. That's exactly very
Above
good.
the stars.
Right in chapter 15 Genesis, right? I think
that's
verse
right.
number 8.
Yeah.
Right, God says to Abraham, right, verse 7, "I'll take you above the stars." Right, because you Jews don't have to worry about being underneath the stars because the stars really have no bearing on you. Right, we deal directly with God. Yeah.
Do you know what an Ethan is? Ephah number? So I deal
Spell
with
it.
God has a special love for me. I'm just trying to tell you.
Right.
I deal with the IRS every day.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the big things is if you have to prepare more than 11 returns, you're supposed to, by law, you're supposed to have an EFIN number.
Okay, yeah.
Well, that's me.
Right.
So I started in September working on getting an EFIN number. This program that they have is so temperamental, you would not believe how bad it is.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, they gave up on me once, sent me right to the office in Farmers Branch,
Right.
so they could identify me as being who I really am. Okay, but I mean, this has been around since September.
Right.
So today I came to the end and I'm about to submit the application,
Right.
and it wants my PIN number. Of course, I know my PIN number, so I put my PIN number in there,
Right.
and it doesn't want to recognize it. Right? This is after what? Since September, I've been working on this. So I called them, right?
Yeah.
and I've got to wait 3 hours each time to get through.
All right.
And I'm thinking to myself, I'm remembering in my mind the picture of you sitting on the airplane. I'm thinking about that. There's something I'm supposed to learn from this whole exercise. What is the prayer I should say to God? Should I say, thank you, God, for teaching me something? What is the prayer? What is
Right.
The prayer for patience.
There's a prayer for patience?
There must be.
Yeah.
Prayer for
What's the prayer?
God, give me the patience not to kill the person on the phone.
No, I'm very polite.
Okay, good.
You would not believe
Right.
how
Help
polite
me.
I am.
Help me be so civil and loving and caring on the phone.
Yeah,
Because it's
I'm
really
very
not the person
loving
on the
and
phone,
caring and
right?
Appreciative of all their help.
Right.
You know, it's like you finally get through to God. And they
Yeah, it's like so
Oh,
exciting.
man.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
So anyhow, is there some thought I'm supposed to have in my mind when I'm going through these kinds of experiences? Because it seems to me like, of all the Jews in the world, he singled me out for this. What am I supposed to be thinking?
You're supposed to be thinking, don't put me on hold again.
No. I'll tell you, really the answer is figure out what you can do with that time while you're on hold.
Well, yeah, usually when I'm on hold, I'm usually working on something else.
Right. So just use the time.
Yeah, I write him a letter.
That's-
That's when I write my letters to the IRS. by the way.
You should whoever that's the time when you have to write a letter thanking the person who discovered speakerphones.
But
Thank
no,
you,
really,
God, for
what is
making
God
me
teaching us?
Patience.
What is this?
Patience.
I know He's going to forgive me for sometimes I get a little bit angry.
Right.
I've learned how not to say it to the person
Right.
I'm talking to, but you know, you just feel so annoyed and frustrated.
Right. So it's okay. So that's you see that. Okay, that's it. Perfect.
But this
You-
goes on every day.
Right, and you get annoyed and frustrated.
Yeah.
And you haven't solved that problem yet, right?
I still get annoyed and frustrated. So
Okay, right. No,
so
good.
when will I know when I've solved the problem?
When you get it straight through the IRS without waiting 3 hours.
Patience. And when we are talking about the original sins, and one of them, which is jealousy,
Wait.
is that the byproduct not just the envy but also anger?
Okay, yeah, we have to get to how they all go back to different things, but yeah, it's anger. Anger is probably one of the worst, not the worst trait to have.
Yeah.
Yes, but this is
Right.
this is part of the original sin or not?
Anger?
Yes.
Well, anger usually comes from frustration. Frustration becomes that people aren't doing what you want to do, and that usually comes because you think you're God.
So it's from there, from this.
Again, there could be different things. You could get angry because you're jealous of somebody else. You could get angry because there were different reasons because you desire somebody else and you don't have it.
So all these things come from this original.
Thank you. There's a lot of things that it can come from.
But it was the same three.
Right, but it's these three. These are the three sins that all sins come from. The story in here, chapter 3, is the three sins: be God, desire, and jealousy. Every sin in the world till today boils down to these three sins.
So anything else was born from these three sins. So these three sins are the contributors to the other sins like jealousy.
Yeah. They all come. Yeah, they all come from that. Yeah. Okay. Good. So let's move on. Good. So these are the three sins. So they go ahead and add the three sins. Now, very interesting. So man and woman eat from the tree and they get thrown out of the garden. Why does Adam and Eve get thrown? Adam and woman get thrown out of the garden.
Because they refused to do tshuva.
They didn't admit that they are guilty.
Oh, so it's very interesting, right? So mostly people say because they ate from the tree.
They didn't own it up.
Right. They made a mistake.
They didn't know it.
There's only one problem with that, because if you look in chapter 3, verse number 6. Was when they ate from the tree on page 17, the top of page 17.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Right. So that it's at the end of verse number 6, and she gave also to her husband with her, and he ate. Right. So what happens is that you go ahead and you say that what is that right? That they ate, and that's why they got thrown out. The only problem is when do they get thrown out of the garden? Verse 23. Okay, verse 23. They get thrown out in verse 23. They eat in verse number 7. They get thrown out in verse number 23. Why do they? So they didn't get thrown out because they ate from it. They get thrown out because they didn't do tshuva. They didn't apologize.
They didn't ask for forgiveness.
Right? They didn't ask for forgiveness. It means if they would have gone ahead, because let's go through this way. Let's say they ate from the tree. God shows up and Manuel goes, "Oh God, we're so sorry, we made such a terrible mistake. Please forgive me." What would have happened?
He would have been
They would
forgiven.
have been forgiven. Right? And would they be in the garden? Yes.
Yeah.
So you see, what got them thrown out of the garden?
Failure to recognize their own mistake.
Failure to memorize, to remember
And
the
to own it.
To
Now,
own
would
it.
they have eaten it on the Sabbath, the first Sabbath? Would they have been able to eat from that tree again?
Yes. No, meaning.
How would he have erased what they had already done and then?
So let me tell you about the miracle, right? This is the magic miracle, right? It wipes away your credit history, right? All the bad scores. It cleans your score. If you make you an 850 on the FICO scale.
But you still have knowledge of it. Like you
You-
still
you- Right. But again, tshuva works in the way that even though you might have created an identity, you might have created a reality with your sin, when you do tshuva, that sin goes away. It's like it never existed. And now I'll tell you a little secret, even a bigger secret than this. There are two reasons why somebody does tshuva. What are the two reasons that a person does tshuva?
Because I mean it honestly,
They mean it honestly.
or to buy it something. I pretend to.
Okay, good. So even when they mean it honestly, okay, we're not talking about somebody who's not being honest about it, okay? And see, the problem is you're dealing with God, so you have to be honest with God. And the problem is to be honest with God, you have to be honest with yourself. And the problem is most of us are not honest with ourselves, right? And so we have a hard time really seeing what's really there. And we might say we do things, but it's not really what we really want or what we really mean. Okay? But let's say you do it honestly. Really honest. You're really sorry. There are two reasons why you can be sorry. One is
Would it be like you're doing teshuvah out of love for Hashem, and the other one would be you're doing teshuvah because of yirat?
Fear. Excellent.
What's it called? Okay.
You're right. No. Yiras Hashem.
Oh, you.
Okay, right? One person could do it because, listen, God's the boss. He controls everything. I need that pay raise. God, I'm sorry I messed up. Please forgive me. Right? Because I'm scared of God. The other reason a person can do it is not because they're scared of God, but they love God. And they've realized that now they've created a barrier between themselves and God. And they don't want that barrier between themselves and God. Right? They want to have a relationship with God, not being infringed or impinged by the action that they did. And they realized that the action they did drove them away from God. Right? You following? And they say, God, I want to be close with you. I don't want to do I want a relationship with you. That's called doing teshuvah out of love. When you do teshuvah out of fear, because God's the boss and He's in charge, and He told you not to do it, and He did it anyway, and that was really stupid, God, and I let desire, jealousy, whatever, right, get in my way. God says, great, no problem, the sin is gone. Wave the wand, disappears. Never existed. Google it, nothing comes up. If you do it out of love, because you so much desire a relationship with God and you realize that now you're not going to have that relationship that you desire, at that point in time, the sin not only disappears, but it reappears as a merit. Okay? So not only do you not have a $10,000 debit against you, you have an extra $10,000 in the bank account to spend. When you do it out of love.
How do you know if you're doing it out of love or out of fear?
I
never can tell the difference.
Just do it. Don't worry about it. No,
in my case.
Yeah, no. The answer is like this. Right. The answer is, well, you managed to do something out of love.
Well, yeah, and I've done it out of fear.
Okay, that's
like,
impressive.
Oh, man,
I mean,
that's
getting
really bad. I'm gonna go ahead and make this right.
right, but it takes work. I mean, you have to work on yourself, like you to begin to understand what you really caused by what you did. right, and to realize the damage that was caused by your actions, and then to realize that it's a damage to your relationship with God.
So it's not because you think you're going to be punished if you don't make tshuva. It's because you do it because you know it's the right
Because
thing
you
to do.
desire the relationship with God.
Yeah.
And when you desire a relationship with God, you want to go ahead and you don't want it to be damaged by anything.
So if in your mind you're not concerned about being punished, but then it has to be out of love.
Hopefully.
Because it's not your mind that you're doing tshuva.
But again, the people have many different reasons for doing things, but yeah. But you want to do it because you desire the relationship with God. Adam.
Is it an either or is there like a gray scale?
No, there's a gray scale. There's a gray scale. You might not get 10,000 in your bank account. You might only get 1,000.
So that works for no matter how small or how great the
sin
transgression, the sin of the person is.
Yes.
The tshuva works for
Absolutely.
no matter how big the sin is.
No matter how big the sin
Or
is.
small, whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's repentance.
Yeah, no, but it's usually translated as repentance. Repentance is not a good translation.
Admission of the guilt.
The word teshuva means return. Return. See, it goes like this: when you start walking away from God, okay, right? Here's God, and you start moving away from God, right? You're walking away. Shuva means to return to God. So when you turn around, have you done shuva? You take a step. Have you done tshuva?
Yeah.
But you're still very far away.
Yeah.
So why are you saying it's doing tshuva?
Because it's a process.
Then the answer is, you have done tshuva. You're coming home. You might not be back, right? Right? Is that, right? You might not be all right. You want to get back to where you are. Right? You want to get back to that place. Right? So that's called tshuva gemura. That's called complete tshuva. Right, but there are many steps to teshuva, right? To the process, because he says it's a process, right? There are things that go on.
But if you make a complete tshuva,
Yeah.
there's no reason for you to be here anymore.
Well, again, that's not true because now you have other tests that you haven't passed yet.
Or he'll give you something else to do.
Or he kills you, right?
No.
If you've done it all, then you die.
Well, if you've done it all, means that's what he said. If you complete your mission in this world, you've come as close to God as you can. So then, why would you want to be here any longer?
Yeah.
Right. So then God will take you. Even though to us sometimes we don't understand why people are here, why people aren't here, right? And why right? We would think certain people is wasting his time with, certain people he's not, and yet it seems backwards, right? And so that's why we know so little. You see, we have to learn a little dose of humility, right? People are so complicated, and so complex, right? The only one who can ever know anybody is God, right? And that's right, and that's why. And so it's to judge anybody is ridiculous, because you're missing so much information. Right? You following? You're missing so much information, and we take so many things that we think we know the answer, or we know it's supposed to be, and we have absolutely no clue. And we have absolutely no clue. Then anything we say is just silly. Right? Right? It's just a silly thing. Right? There's only one thing we know, and that is, did I try my best? Right? And that's our job, to do our best. Don't worry about everybody else. God's got that covered. Right? We have to worry about ourselves. Am I doing what I need to do? In every given situation, I have that challenge. That's my challenge. What do I do? Right? And learning to do what I need to do for whatever the situation is, that's my goal. Right? You understand? Right? That's what I need to ask myself. What does God want from me in this situation? Right? And then at least I've asked the right question. Right? Then at least I know that it's me who's up there who now I gotta decide what I'm doing. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like that's what has to take place. Yeah.
Yeah, Rabbi, based on your explanation, do you agree? Do I have to agree with the Reform Rabbi who said Frankie, do you really believe in that God? If He's so powerful, why a bad thing happened to good people? Why the flood happen and just kill people? What I'm supposed to say before that?
What I'm supposed to say is is that whoever asked you the question is relevant to answer the question. I always say, am I God? Do I know anything of what God knows? No. Right? So why did God do it? I don't know. It's a good question. And guess what? No, we will know the answer.
We will?
When we die.
Yes.
Right? In fact, Moses said to God, show me your face. And what does that mean, show me your face? What did Moses want to know? Why do bad things happen to good people?
He said, no one see my face.
Oh, so what does God say? Nobody will see my face and will live. What was God's answer to Moses?
I'll put you in a cleft of...
No, right. I'll tell you something fascinating.
Wait until you die.
No, but why? You can't see my face and live. Why? Because, I'll give it to you in computer terms. What happens when a finite hard drive downloads an infinite website? And crashes, right? God is infinite and we are finite. So could we understand the infinity? No. So therefore, God says to Moses, it's a silly question, Moses. Because even you, Moses, who's the greatest man to live, you're man, you're physical. When will you understand me? When you die and you're no longer a physical and you turn into your total spiritual self, you get all the answers. And so what does God say to Moses, right? He says, stand in the cleft in the rock, I'll pass by and then you'll see me. Right? And so what happens? So he stuck Moses in the cleft in the rock, he put his hands over his face. Why did he put his hands over Moses' face?
So he couldn't see him.
Why did he want Moses to see him?
Because he wanted him to live.
No, right, because he wanted Moses to live. Moses would die. So he saved Moses' life by putting his hand over his face. Amazing, right? Moses goes by and says, Moses, you can come out. Moses comes out. What does Moses see?
Back.
The back. So listen to this idea. One of the ideas over here. God says to Moses, if you want to see me looking forward, you won't see me. If you want to understand me, look back. Look back in your life. And at the times that you thought were the most horrible times, they turned out to be the best of them.
God was carrying you.
God was carrying you.
Well, also if you have if somebody has a great life, and gets everything they want, I think they look at the person as being, including that individual, look at them as being responsible for manifesting that, but if God brings somebody down to the dumps of, there's no way that they're getting out, and then flies them up, then everybody has to say, well, it is God, because sure as heck wasn't that person, because look, they were out in the dump. It's more of a, like we say in our prayers, it says, do it for your sake, not for our sake. That kind of thing. It's a better display, and it's more to do people look at it and say, that was God, as opposed to that was Joe.
Right. Well, the do this is that we could all understand that it's all God. It's all God all the time. Right? We may not see, we may not understand it. It looks strange to us. It seems backwards to us. Right? And let me tell you something, my friends. Better God understands it than we know, because if we think we understand it, guess what? For sure we don't. Right? We can't understand God. Right? The answer is we get little glimpses. And God gives us little glimpses, by the way. We just have to be smart enough to see those glimpses. Right? Right? We read a story in Purim. Right? We read a story 4 days ago. Now, what's the story we read 4 days ago? It was a story that seemed to be just one long soap opera. The Purim story takes us over the span of 11 years. It's 14 years total. 14 years when he became king till he dies. Right? But we pick up when he's in the third year of his reign. Right? So third year till 11 years later, right? Yeah. Right? And so what happens is we go ahead and we get the whole Purim story, right? Right? The whole Purim story, right? It happens in front of us. What's the whole Purim story is one coincidence after another. And what is God really saying with all those coincidences? He's saying,
I'm here.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. You see me? See me? Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm here, right? And what's our job? And our job is, and it's interesting, right? Because you just heard this. Is that right? Purim. What comes right after Purim? Pesach. Always. Even when the 2 Adars, right? When it's a double, when it's a leap year, and we have an extra month. Normally, and the principle would put that Purim should be the first Adar, because the extra month is the 13th month, not the 12th month, right? But instead, what happens is that God says put Purim in the 2nd month. Why should it be close to Pesach? You know why it should be close to Pesach? Because we put one redemption next to the other redemption. But you know what it means to put one redemption next to the other redemption? The holiday of Pesach is a holiday of open miracles. It's all about the open miracles. It's all about, right? It's all about, right, the open miracles that take place. That's what it's all about, right?
10 plagues.
Right, 10 plagues, the splitting of the Red Sea, coming to Mount Sinai, right? It's one massive display after another massive display of God saying, "I run this world, I am this world," right? And the holiday of Purim is a holiday of seeing God when everything looks just so obvious. And everything seems just to be the way it is. Right? It just happens to be. And what do we say? We put those 2 miracle holidays next to each other. And we say it's the same God who does those massive miracles to the same God who is hiding behind the mask and for us to look and see.
So we should be characterized as people that seeking God in every day and every minute.
Absolutely.
Right.
And the more we can see God in every day and every minute, the more godly we live and the more godly we act. Right? You following? Right? If you see God coming right through there, you know what you do? You say, wow, that's God. I need to act now like as a godly person. Right? Then we talked about this a couple weeks ago. You know what it takes to keep your body going?
You don't have a clue.
Do you know like any clue? Like any clue? Right? We said, right? How many nerves are there in your optic eye? In your optical nerve?
14 million.
Right? And
Your eyes can see 14 million.
I think even more than that they can see. But there's 1.5 million optic nerves in nerve endings in one eye. You got 3 million in both eyes. How many are you willing to give up? Okay, you see Joyce? You know how many red blood cells Joyce has?
How many?
It's like 20 trillion.
20 trillion?
We Googled the last time. I think I'm correct.
Yeah,
Right. Right. How many white blood cells do you have?
bunch.
When you're feeling well, I think we're gonna have like 5 trillion. You know what that? You know, trillion is a large number. And any accountant saying, "No, man, how do you write 5 trillion? Hey, 20 trillion." Right? Do you understand what I'm talking about? Right? Do you understand what it takes you, right, to keep your body going? And by the way, you know how your whole body runs? On an 8-ounce pump called your heart. And who reminds your heart to beat? Do you understand how living miracles each and every one of us are?
No, it's just an accident of evolution.
I said, you know why the people who say it's all an accident of evolution are going to go to hell? You want to know why they're going to go to hell?
Why?
I'm going to explain it to you. It's very simple. Very simple. You see, they say man was here 250,000 years ago. How do they know man was here 250,000 years ago? It says because you go into some ancient cave, you see in the wall a chicken scratch of a man. They said it had to be made by a person. Right? The chicken scratch, right, couldn't happen by itself, so there must be a person. Hence, that's how we know people were 250,000 years ago. So I tell them, hold on a second. I said, let me get this straight. The chicken scratch on the wall convinces you that there has to be a person who made those chicken scratches. I said, and the world is so complicated, and you don't believe that somebody made it, that just happened by itself? You have no problem believing that the world just happened. I said, but the 3 chicken scratches, oh, no. It must have been human. That's why they're going to hell. You get it? You understand? It's because they're right. They're so cocked. You know what I'm saying? Like right. But it's just ridiculous. Right? You understand? It is so absurd. And people will say, and they'll say it to you with a straight face. And they'll tell you, I'm the crazy one. You get it? You get it? That's why they're going to hell. That's very simple.
But it's also the programming and the educational. I mean, like if they sit in Common Core, public school year after year. I mean, that's what. And their parents aren't religious.
It becomes a religion, right? That's the problem.
Even though there's always a religion, whether or not mom and dad deal with it. Yeah.
Right. No, right. That's the problem. It becomes a religion. But that's the reason. That I'm convinced. Like that one argument is like. It's just like it's like when I had that epiphany, you know, the name of God just put in my head. That was just that was sweet, right? Because it's something that it's so crazy, right? I mean, like, man, the people are retarded. I mean, really, I just don't get it. It makes so little sense. It's like one of these things that are just bizarre, right? And you just okay. Go ahead. Last question. Got to move on. Go ahead.
I have a question.
Yeah.
This scenario of them eating the apple and everything else, and they will kick you out of the Garden of Eden.
You mean the bread?
Yeah. This is on the 7th day?
No. This is all happening on Friday.
6 days.
Sixth day. Now God was going to kick him out, but Adam said, "God, it's right before Shabbat. Please don't kick me out. I can't have."
If they had not done that, what kind of Shabbat would they have?
If they had not done that, they would have went straight into the Messianic era. Went straight into Mashiach, right? The world would have gone straight into Messianic age because man would have passed their test, and then the world would have just gone into the Messianic age.
Yeah, but you and I might not be here.
Correct?
Might not.
I mean, we would.
No, right. Our souls would have been completed at that point in time, and that's it. Right? Remember, the only reason there's a world. The only reason we're here in this world is to complete our soul. Right, we're on a soul journey, right? Not SOLE, SOUL, right? We're on a soul journey, right? And we're here, we kind of touched down into this world. We're here for 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years, 110, 120, and then we leave. And we only get put down here because we have a mission to accomplish. And if we don't accomplish our mission, we've blown our chain. We've gone through this world for no reason. Right, so we have to go through this world and we have to accomplish our soul mission.
So you say this world is hell?
I said it's very fascinating. You know, I'll tell you. You know what hell is? See, people make a mistake about hell.
Well,
there is no devil with a pitchfork. Devil with a pitchfork, you know, with little pointy ears and pointy tail and the pitchfork, right? And going, hey, let me get my hands on you, right? That's not what it is.
Well, it's the absence of God.
Oh, no, not okay. No. You're missing. You come on, finish it off.
The
Relation.
Yeah, I guess the absence of the relationship.
The recognition of the absence of relationship. Okay, meaning, remember, your body stays down here. Your body doesn't go anywhere, right? So you forget about your body. Your soul continues on to heaven or hell, right? What happens when the soul goes to hell? What does that mean?
you get to remember
You recognize that you could have been sitting in those seats I was sitting in yesterday. Right? I was telling my son, I said, is it better to sit courtside or is it better in the skyboxes? Like, that's our discussion we were having.
Yeah.
I said, the skyboxes you could actually order in food. You know, they allow kosher catering in American Airlines. And you don't get a stiff neck. Yeah, so I don't know, but you run, it's like you've seen it, like really, really cool. But the answer, but hell is finally meeting God, and realizing you could have had a relationship with God, and instead you went and you ran some different ways, and you lost the opportunity.
In other words, you could have sat in the skybox.
Right.
Instead behind the coach.
No, instead you're outside the stadium. Right? You understand? And that's you know, it's so funny because like I love going to these games because people get so caught up in them. It's like so wonderful. So there was one high point for the Mavericks last night was I don't know, they were down by like I think 13, and then it came in, and Dirk hit like a 3 from like 50 yards. I mean, from like beyond like almost a half court, and then they came down, they shot, they missed. Then along came the next guy, I don't know who it was, and hit a 3-point. Like also, then he let go the ball, you knew he was going to hit it, and the whole stadium erupts in these, wow, fantastic, we're catching up, right? And imagine you're outside and you hear this big cheering going on, and you go, oh my gosh, what am I missing? Right? So hell is hearing the whole, right? Hearing everybody sitting there, right? Cheering with God, and I'm outside, recognizing, by the way, that I had the tickets, I just gave them away. Right? You understand? Hell is a pretty bad place to be, and it's not because somebody's sitting there picking at you with a flamethrower, right? Which is also not so a little toasty for me, right? But that's what happens, right? But what happens is you go ahead and you do this thing, right? And it's that you could have had that relationship. And that's what we have to keep on remembering, that, and what happens is we get sent down into this world and we remember that it's all about creating a relationship with God. Then we have life hit us full in the face, and we forget about it.
Yeah.
Right? And hopefully we wake up before the train ride ends. Right? And we're able then to make it right. Right? But that's what takes place. So, and that's how you have to look at the world, and that's how you have to understand the context of the world. Right? Yeah.
So this all happened on Friday.
Yeah.
Now it comes Shabbat.
When we're not at the Shabbat, you're ahead of the meeting. You have to wait.
How much am I ahead?
You're ahead like a couple chapters.
Wow. So much happened that one day?
Yeah. You got to finish up what happened in day number 6. Okay. So, page 17.
Yep.
Chapter 3.
Yes.
Verse number 8. Okay, Scott, you've been sitting so quietly. All right. Take it away. Top of right, page 17, 4th line down, verse number 8.
They heard the sound of Hashem, God, manifesting itself in the garden toward evening.
By the way, they just sinned, right? Right? So, what name are we using for God over here? Well, let me ask you a question. What name would you use for God after they just sinned and disobeyed God? Elohim, justice. Right? What did you say? Right, the God of justice coming to collect his pound of flesh. But who shows up? Hashem. God. And who shows up? God of mercy.
Looking to
right?
forgive.
Looking to forgive. Right? God of mercy shows up. Go ahead, Scott. Continue reading. They heard the sound of Hashem, God.
And the man and his wife hid from Hashem, God, among the trees of the garden.
Oh my gosh. So what do?
Hid.
They hid from God. My friends, can you hide from God?
No.
So what are you doing hiding from God? You know, it reminds me of the 3-year-old. You know, here's the mother coming. They know they stole the chocolate cake. They stick their head underneath the table. Right, Mommy, you can't see me. Right, come here, Mommy. I don't see you. Right, you can't see me. Hello, I don't know who you talking to. I'm not here. Right, so they're hiding from God. So the Talmud says they start to sin. What happens when you start to sin? You continue sinning. Right? You make it worse. They're not running away from God. They're hiding from God. My friends are hiding from God. Do you realize how ridiculous that is?
But why does he say, where are you?
Hold on. Oh, 1 second. Okay. Verse number 9.
Hashem, God, called out to the man and said to him, where are you?
Where are you? Hello? Is man, are you home? Man, anyone home? Man, woman, anyone here? Anyone here once, wait, twice? Where are you?
But God knew exactly where they were.
So what is God?
He's offering them an opportunity, basically. This is the first time they have the opportunity to say, yeah, we did something.
Yeah, I'm sorry, God. Right. Again, God said maybe they're so embarrassed they don't want to say anything, so they're just hiding. Maybe if I start off the conversation,
where are you?
Where are you? Maybe they'll say, oh, God, I'm so sorry. Please don't come in. I'm naked. Right? He gave them the opening. But I want to teach you here now something amazing. I want to teach you something amazing. Let's reread verse number 9.
Hashem, God called out to the man and said to him, where are you?
Where are you? Where are you?
But maybe Hashem is running away from them.
What does God say?
Are you on my side or are you against me?
No. What, more than that, what is God saying? Where are you?
It doesn't necessarily mean physically. Where
Oh!
are you?
Very good.
Where are you on tshuva?
Or where, right, and wake up. Where are you? Like, hello. Like, smack. Oh, wait, no, wake up.
You're in the middle of
Where are you?
You're in Eden.
You're
Right?
in-
You've sinned.
Hello.
And I'm waiting here, standing here, going, you know, you go, do you hear me? And what are you doing? You're hiding. You're missing the opportunity.
He denied responsibility.
Denying responsibility. It's always easy to blame God. Always. It's always God's fault. And then happens always God's. And the answer is it's true. It's God's fault. Why is it God's fault? Because He's responding to what you did. He's giving you what you need. So instead of taking responsibility, what are we doing? Blaming Him. Say, God, it's your fault. God, leave me alone. Right? Right. And what does God say to man?
No.
Where are you?
Where are you? Where are you? Wake up. Wake up. Right? Get it. Right? Figure it out. Don't lose sight of what this world is all about. Understand why you're here. Understand what your goal is. Understand what your job is. Know where you are. Because if you don't know where you are, you know, it's always so funny. You ever try putting your GPS and you want to get to a place and it says, where are you? You ever happens with you? I don't know, it never happens with your GPS. My GPS happens, right? It's so funny. My wife and I, like, we're driving someplace, and so I see you going like this, you know, like taking her phone and going like this, you know, because her GPS has to find her. Right? No, right? That's right. They say you have to recalibrate and whip it back and forth and like up and down and, you know, do that figure eight thing or whatever it is, right? Because if you don't know where you are, you'll never get to where you want to go.
Your GPS
You also
doesn't know
don't know
where
where
you
you've
are.
been.
What?
You also don't
It also knows where you've been. That's pretty scary, by the way. But where are you?
That's not an easy thing sometimes to figure out.
I know.
Is that like
Even with
what's
the
wrong with
GPS.
you?
No, not what's wrong with you.
Chicago vernacular. What's wrong with you?
You didn't,
Does
right?
that mean
Right.
where are you?
No, where are you means is why are you here and what's your goal? What are you trying to accomplish in this world? If you're trying to, which race are you running? Because guess what, bud? That might be the wrong race.
Yeah.
And you know what happens when you run the wrong race?
You finish in the wrong finish line?
You lose.
Finish in the wrong, and you lose big. Right? You don't even make it to the starting line.
And you feel foolish.
You ever see those, you know, those videos of the guy who scores a touchdown for the other team?
Yeah.
Right, you know, right. He's running the wrong way. Right. So God says to man, where are you? Hello, where are you? Don't you get it? Where are you? Why is this so complicated? It's one of the greatest lines in the Chumash. And I want to tell you something amazing. Do you know how you say "where are you" in Hebrew?
Afo.
Eifo ata. Right, where are you? Eifo ata, where are you? It's fascinating. What does the Torah, what does God say? What word is written over here?
It says here. What
Ah.
does it say?
Ayeka. What does the word ayeka mean? What does the word ayeka mean?
Where are you?
Where are you? I want to show you now something really cool. Something really cool. Okay? Ayeka. Listen to this.
It's the same as Eicha.
Ah! Aleph, Yud, Chaf, Hey. That's how you write the word ayeka. That's how you write the word ayeka. Okay? You write the word ayeka, right? Right? It's spelled Aleph, Yud, Chaf, Hey. You know what else these letters spell?
Eicha.
Eicha. You know what the word Eicha means?
Lamentation.
The word Eicha means lamentations, otherwise known as when you say lamentations, is when you go ahead and you say, woe. Woe to you. Woe to me. Right? That's how you spell the word lamentations.
So it says
Lamentations is a book of destruction, of the temple being destroyed, of it all being destroyed. Why? Because we wouldn't take responsibility for our actions. It leads to tragedy. It is tragedy. And the question is, what's more tragic? The idea that you don't think it's tragic, or that you did a tragedy? And God, what does God say to man? He says, Ayaka, where are you? Hello? Wake up, smell the coffee.
So it also sounds like he's saying, where are you going? Because if you're walking away from him, he's like, where are you going?
Right. He's right about that's what he's saying to men. He's saying you're hiding. Right? Instead of owning up. And not only that, and we said, and why did man eat from the tree? We know why woman ate from the tree. Why did man eat from the tree?
He wanted to prove he could commit the sin and still be righteous.
Oh, right, because he wanted to prove that he could still eat from the tree, incorporate the evil inclination into himself, and then after incorporating the evil inclination into himself and identifying himself with the evil inclination, then he can still listen to God. So all he had to do, all man had to do at this point in time was to do what? Say I'm sorry. That's all he had to do. Was say, God, I am sorry. And what does he do?
She made me do it.
Right. And he goes, nothing. He says, I'm here. Where are you? Nothing. Zero. Nada. Not a thing.
So they were afraid to admit their guilt, or they didn't admit the guilt because of the false pride or fear.
1, 2, and 3.
All of this.
Why he went to Adam? Why he didn't go to Chava? Why he didn't ask Chava, where are you?
He spoke to both of them.
So after they ate, they decided they could reason everything.
And after they ate, right, so that they still... It's so amazing. Because we do this...
Just before you say this, so let's say we are husbands and wives, and I tell them to go steal something. So we are both
Absolutely. Yeah, sure. Of course.
We are both judged at the same time, same way.
Absolutely.
Did you become one?
Eka means
Ayeka. The word is Eicha. Where are you? But remember, we said the real Hebrew word for where are you is Eifoata. Right? Where are you? But it doesn't say where are you. It says Ayeka. Because when it's Ayeka.
It says, yeah, but it's also Eka, which means...
Right, the word, right, remember in the Torah there are no vowels.
Right.
So the word is written Aleph Yud Chaf He, which is the same way that the word Eicha, lamentations, is written.
So what does lamentation mean?
Lamentation is the book. It's lamentation is to lament,
Sorrow.
lament, to cry, to mourn.
Mourning.
Right, and that's what it is, because when you can't do what you need to do, and what you were created for, right, that is a tragedy. It's a tragedy on a tragedy, and when you can't even figure out what you're supposed to do, it's even a greater tragedy.
So how they can supposed to figure out when they can't? Who can help them with that?
Oh!
They only can pray for help.
Oh! No, so what's the answer? Who's supposed to help you?
God.
God, that's why you have a rabbi.
Oh.
Right? Borders.
You have to talk to Rabbi to figure out,
to help
to figure out where they are.
Absolutely. Why?
If you can see things better than you can because you're in it.
Yeah, sure.
That's right.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. Right? Because he's right, because it's that, and it happens to everybody. A rabbi needs a rabbi. Right? Do you know that? Rabbi needs a rabbi. I have a classic story that I always use because it was so like it brought this point home so well to me. I was having a challenge with one of my kids, I mean, my kids are perfect, but imagine I was having a challenge with one of my kids, and I couldn't figure out what to do. I couldn't figure out. I didn't know the right thing to do. And what happened was, so I went ahead, and I went ahead, and I was struggling. I didn't have a good answer. Then Hashem was kind to me, because Hashem loves me. He loves you too, by the way. You just got to know that. So, and remember, he sent me a student of mine who asked me the same exact question about his kid. But when we're talking about his kid, I knew the answer. And I told him the answer right away what to do. And as soon as he left, I stopped and I said, oh my gosh. OMG. I said, that is the craziest thing in the world. That's exactly what I need to do. Right? It's very clear. And then, listen to this. I knew that was right? I knew that was... And then I started to say why with my kid it wouldn't work. Like all the reasons why it wouldn't work with my kid. Right? It's so amazing. Right? But that's what you have to do. See, I want to tell you something. People think Judaism is this easy religion, like just kind of just go, it's like, you boil religion down to a 20-second soundbite and you're good to go. Right? It's crazy. Right? It's all sound bites. It's all sound bites. And since Judaism is a religion that makes you become the best you can become. Kicking and screaming, mind you. Right? Because you're saying, work is, it's a 4-letter word. It's called work. Right? It's stopping and thinking and understanding and developing and then working on myself and trying to do this and going ahead and it takes work. Right? There's not an easy answer. And the answers are easy. The implementation takes a lot of work. Right? You have to work at it. I'll tell you, Rabbi, let me ask you a question. Who here has studied the entire Talmud? Who here has studied the entire Talmud?
No.
I have over the years, but I still don't know this much.
Says Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, one of the great ethicists, right? He started the Musa movement. He says, it is easier to study, and he studied the entire Talmud. It is easier to study the entire Talmud than to change one of our attributes. Okay? When he started off, he says, I'm going to change the world. He went for a couple of years and he says, you know what, I can't change the world, I'll just change my continent. And then after a couple of years, I can't change my continent, I'll just work on my country. And then after a couple of years, he said, I can't change my country, I'll just change my state. And then it's my city, my block, my house, my family. And then he came back, he said, forget about my family, I'm just going to try myself. Right? It takes work, right? I mean, Judaism is a religion of working on oneself to become a great person. Right? To become a godly person. And it takes a lot of work. That's why God gave us 120 years. Right? Because it takes a lot of work to become godly. Right? And so, right, understanding that, right, God gives us the Torah, which is the instruction manual, gives us all the things we need to know. All we need to do is just remember to read the book.
Okay, so what happens to the person who dies when they're 70? We have 120 years.
Right.
Who dies when they're 70, wasn't wicked enough for God to say, all right, you got to get out of here before you end up in a naughty or bad place or whatever, right? And didn't really fulfill their quote-unquote mission, and it's...
They come back again. Well, it depends like this. It depends.
But then it's like, why
it depends.
did you go with all that? Why did you just, you know what I mean? It's like...
Okay, like this. It goes like this. If you're pretty good, you score a B. Right? So, but you really want an A. Right? So then you might have to spend a little time in hell, which I call the body shop, to bang out the dings, and kind of make you look nice and fancy.
It's like the Jewish rendition of purgatory? Is that it?
Yeah. Jewish hell is really similar to the Christian purgatory.
The duat they called it in Egypt, ancient Egypt?
Okay, no, but okay, that's it. It sounds like the right word, right? And so, right, to go ahead and now, and then you could go on to heaven. But sometimes a person totaled their car and ran the wrong race, right? And doesn't get a B, it's kind of like a 20 or a 30. They might have to come back to this world. They don't even get the chance to go to hell. They have to come back to this world and do it again. All of us, by the way, everyone in this room.
Pray for somebody in purgatory, just as the Catholics believe that they can pray for somebody in purgatory. Can we pray for?
Why do you say cottage?
Oh, yeah, that's true. It's actually the same concept then.
The Christians they take it from the Judaism.
Right. So the Kaddish from the.
Right,
that's
what,
Christianity.
Okay, but it's not only pray for them, right? We say do mitzvahs, right? Go ahead, right? Do something good for that person, right? Go ahead and do a mitzvah, right? Change yourself a little bit. Be inspired by that person. Do something good for them. And when you do something like that, that's the greatest merit that person will have. The greatest merit is to that person.
I didn't know that they had that
Sure. Right. That's the greatest gift you could give somebody.
I didn't know we did purgatory.
Yeah. It's it's right, but that's what it's about.
You don't have to do the full 11 months if you.
Right.
A few cents.
Right.
It's only a year.
What?
It's only a
It's
year.
a maximum.
Oh, that's
yeah, maximum. Yeah, it's not bad. Nah, it's only no, it's an easy thing. It's just like it's
Basically, you're doing tshuva for 11 months.
Yeah, it's a better concept.
Right.
That's why usually Kaddish goes
for 11 months. We don't do 12 months because only wicked people do a full 12 months. Right. And so, right now, what I was telling you is that everyone in the room here is probably a recycled soul. We've all been here before.
Of course.
And
So we were really bad the last.
Yeah. We're back again. And God's going to take two, take three. I always think of it as, you remember seeing the movie Groundhog Day?
Yeah, God.
Like just keeps on happening again and again and again, like till we get it right, till we kind of like ding 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 ding, like we finally figure it out. Right, but just remember the few things you got to take to the bank. Number one, God is in charge. Number two, God makes the rules. Number three, if you don't like the rules, go back to see rule 1 and 2. And rule number 4 is that God loves us more than anything else in the world. God loves us more than we can ever imagine. The only way you can even have an inkling of how much God loves us, the only way it's possible for you to even figure it out, to even have an inkling, is that's why God let us have children. Right? And we love our children more. Right? Parents always said, this hurts me more than it's going to hurt you, right? These kids going to smack you. And he said, well, if he hurts you so much, then don't smack me, right? Whap, right? What happens, right? God loves us more than we can ever imagine. We're his children. We love our children more than anyone can ever imagine.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's unfathomable the love that God has for us.
Yeah.
And there's not a drop. Somebody once said to me such a great line. It's like such a thing. He says, when you see a poor person, do you know how hard it is for God not to give him money?
Tough.
Right? He's God's kid. Right?
What about the poor person that just wants him to buy drugs or is not getting a drug? You know what I mean? Is there a difference?
And say again, what?
If he's not giving it to maybe sometimes it's, there are the people that ask for money, the poor people that are working hard and they're poor, and there are the poor people that are going to buy
Right.
What do you call by poor people?
Right. It's irrelevant, however poor they are. God is a billionaire. God has more money than Bill Gates, Warren Buffett together.
Okay.
You take all the money in the world, they put it on one side. God, that's a drop in the bucket of God.
Yeah.
Right? He has enough money to give to everyone who he wants to. He could give everybody a gazillion dollars and he'd still be fine. And if you're a father and your kid is struggling, would you not want to help him out?
Of course.
So imagine the self-control God has to have not to give him the money. You know why he doesn't give him the money?
Because he will be the worst.
Because that's the best thing for that kid.
Right.
So,
And by the way, Rabbi, you're behind Jeff Bezos. He's the richest man in the world.
Since I was 14 until now, my father hasn't given me any money.
Say what?
Since I was 14 until now,
Right.
my father doesn't give me anything. He doesn't want to give me anything. He rather gives it to the dog. So
Right.
this is for my benefit or for his benefit?
Again, your father has his deal, you have your deal. Why does God not want you to have the money?
So I can be here.
All right.
No, actually, I came from California.
Right.
There's no reason for me to be here.
Okay, that's what I'm saying is there's a reason.
I mean,
And I want to tell you something.
I had no place to go in California. I ended up coming down.
Right. And I want to tell you something. You have to. It takes a while to think about it. There's not a simple answer to shoot from the hip. And I gotta say, what's the lesson that God is teaching me? Right? What's right? Like what am I supposed to learn? And if God gives us money, what do we have to think?
But Rabbi, I'm suffering.
No. So very good. So maybe that suffering is part of what you need to learn.
But I didn't cause this problem. He did. I didn't choose to be his father.
No, exactly.
I didn't choose to be
That's
his
exactly my point.
But you did.
Is that it's for your best interest.
They say you get the parents that you need.
You get the parents that you need. You get everything that happens comes from God.
There's no mistakes.
Right. Don't think it was a mistake. Okay? Don't think it was a mistake.
It doesn't mean he's the father of the year. It just means that
No. But God is. He only does things that's for our benefit.
But if he's talking about actual, it doesn't if the parents that we got, the actual biological parents. If that's what you're discussing. The ones. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. The ones that are not the ones that you would want. It doesn't mean that they're good. It just means that they're the ones you need to become. Do His will.
Right. In order for you to become the best you that you can be.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I had a student.
Rabbi, listen. If I had my mom and my father here, there's no reason for me to be in a house Shabbat.
Right. That's right. So now you know why they're not here.
Because you're supposed to be at his house for Shabbat.
So you should be saying thank you.
Right. So I'll tell you something fascinating. I had a student who was a big psychologist, and he said, Rabbi, he says, I can't tell you how many patients I've cured after I began learning Torah. So I said, really? I said, what did you do? I said, well, I had this patient who came in. I think it was a nurse. I don't remember the profession. The point was she had a boss who she hated. And it was like it's like drawing the chalk on the chalkboard, making that sound. She said, and she couldn't deal with it. She was just like melting down. So I said, what did you tell her? He said, Rabbi, I told her what you teach us all the time. I said, yes. I told her, imagine, everything comes from God. She said, yes. And she was a religious woman, not Jewish. So he says, so God sent her to you for her to be in your life. She goes, right. So he says, so every time you see now, imagine she has wings, and she's that little angel flying over her, because she was sent by God to be here in your life. Right? And so now, right, you might call her mean, you might call her whatever you call her. He said, but she was sent by God. And he said, that was it. She was able to move on. Right? Because when you understand that everything happens for a reason, and that we are all here, right? And we are here in this world to create a relationship with God. And what drives us creating a relationship with God is what we call life. And now we have to use that life to go ahead and to come closer to God. When we begin to understand that that's what it's all about, and that's how the world runs, so then at that place we can truly become great people. We could become the most amazing people. Right? That's our job in this world. Right? To go ahead to get to a place of being truly godly. Right? That's what happens. Right? And then again, somebody asks, how do you know all those souls have been recycled? Because we're at the end of time. Right? We're at the end of towards the end of 6,000 years, our souls have been down before. Right? Then now it's our job to rectify and to finally to finish off why we're here. Right? And to complete our mission in this world.
The roof is being emptied out.
Right? That's what's taking place. Yes, Joseph.
So in other words, stop trying to figure it out and just accept it?
No. Okay, so it's not stop trying to figure it out. It's accept it, understand it's from God. It's for our own good, and try to understand what message am I supposed to take from it. Instead of, you see, we asked the wrong question. We shouldn't ask why does it happen.
What should I do?
What should I do? Very good. Right? What should I do with what's happened? Right? Because the question is, what God has His reasons, it's because it's the best for us. Okay, so what's the question? What do I need to learn? What's the message? What do I need to incorporate? What do I need to take with me? And when I understand to look at life in that, through those glasses, that's when I could truly be on the path of becoming great. Because it's not why, it's what message am I learning? Right? What am I now going to learn and to go ahead and to use it as a way to become the best I can become? As long as I'm wallowing in why me, we're on the wrong page.
Yeah.
Right? Because what do you mean why? Because God wanted to give it to you. It was a present from God. Present from God? Hey, God, take a present and leave me alone. Right? No. Let's talk this through. Right? Okay, what do I need to learn from this? And then I need to go ahead and then I need to use it as a way to go ahead and to create my relationship with God. Right? And that's the question they need to ask. Right? And I'm not trying to belittle what people are going through. Right? But life is serious business. Right? You know what I'm saying? It's real serious business. Right? Because guess what? Your life depends on it. Right?
More importantly than that, your afterlife.
Yeah, very good. Your real life depends on it, right?
Yeah.
Right? And that's what happens. Exactly what it is. And so therefore, I need to learn. Right? I need to learn what the message is.
Yeah.
Right? And the message will never be, it just happens. Right? Because God doesn't make mistakes. And there are no accidents. And everything that happens, every single thing that happens to us is supposed to happen to us.
For a reason.
For a reason. And now I need to spend my life figuring out what's the message. And how do I take this message and how do I become a more godly person? How do I become a greater person? Right? How do I become right what I can become? When we chase the wrong questions, we'll never get there. Right? Because we're so busy doing stuff that has no connection to us. Right? When we get to the real questions of what do I need to learn and what do I do with what I have, then I could begin to really to grow and to really to begin to move on in life. Yeah. Okay.
Last night was Sunday night, so I was off early.
Right.
So in my brain, I was thinking, like, I'm going to go home, make myself a nice steak, nice food, I have some time.
Right.
I end up cooking a dairy, a spinach, and a chicken next to each other.
Right.
And I didn't realize until it was cooked. By the time it was cooked, I was so hungry, I'm like, okay, now what I'm going to do, not to eat. So, but I figured in my mind that, since the spinach and the chicken is separate, then I guess I can eat the spinach first, drink some water, eat the chicken second.
Excellent. Perfect.
Did I do it right there?
Absolutely.
But I ended up paying for it today. I went to the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no.
They were in the same dish or they were in two different dishes?
Same.
Same pan?
Pan.
I don't know. Okay, same pan you can.
But it was 60-40, isn't it? 60-40?
It's 1/60th.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
But I did pay.
But that was smart. Okay, you did good.
I did
You thought
pay.
you were doing the right thing.
I did pay for it.
You know what the real answer was? Go to the rabbi's house.
No, I did pay for it. I went to the hospital today.
Okay.
Left my job for my food and everything else. But when I went to the hospital, I found out that I have actually a problem that I didn't know for the past 2-3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a good reason for me to go to the hospital.
I want you to know I had a student that fell down, like broke her wrist.
Yeah.
Whatever, or broke, it twisted. It's some really serious stuff. And she's become religious. And all friends saying, God, why do you make it happen? Yada, yada. Started giving her like some lip. So she got up in class. She was in class. It was an amazing thing. She got up and she says, I want you to know that I went to the hospital was the best thing in the world. She said what happened was, every couple of years I like fainted. And I kept on giving excuses to myself why I fainted. She said, and this time, I ended up in the hospital, and they figured out why I was fainting. She said I had a heart condition that I didn't know about, and I was just ignoring it. And so now I figured, now I'm able to do it, they treated it, and I'm feeling great.
But let me just finish the story.
Yeah.
So they gave me medication, I went to Tom Tom, I saw him, I brought him here.
Right.
So, am I clear from my sin?
Yes. Yes. You did good. You did good. Okay, Norman.
Last question.
Yeah.
You
I've
said-
heard that before.
You once said that God loves us like a parent loves a child, and He wants us to love Him like a spouse.
Yeah.
And I seem to connect that to something else you said, which is a woman wants 4 A's, but I'm sure it's not God.
Right.
God wants 3 A's.
Attention, affection.
Attention, affection, appreciation. So does that mean that God wants us to love Him, to have attention, give Him attention,
God is the male, we're the female. That means we want from God
so
attention.
what's a woman supposed to give to her spouse?
No, but respect.
Oh, so I'm just supposed to give him respect, and that's
And
it?
then actually, yeah,
Just daven in the morning and
respect.
Only gives the man respect.
Respect. We actually it's at the bottom of page 17. Is this the whole idea?
is that it?
Yeah. If you stop at the special, we will get there one day.
Okay.
I'm not sure when, but one day we will get there. But that's the answer is yes.
So what you really meant was God wants us to love Him like a woman loves her husband.
Yeah, but again, it's no. What I said was like this: what's the greatest love that exists in the world?
Love of God for us.
Parent to a child.
Yeah.
Parent to a child. And yet, when like in Shir Hashim, the Song of Songs, what's the metaphor that's used of love between us and God? Spouse. Spouse, right? It means that we're supposed to love God, right? Like a spouse. The question is, why does God say, love me like a spouse, when the greatest love in the world is a parent to a child? Which is, by the way, what it says, God loves, right? God calls us His children, right? So, right? We're called the children of God, right? He loves us like a children.
These children don't love their parents all the time like they would love
A spouse.
So the answer is like this. Answers like this.
Is that a-
There's one area of love. There's one area of love
Well, no, but I mean, otherwise it would be.
that
incestual,
is
Father, like-
greater with a spouse than with a parent to a child.
What's that?
You choose to love your spouse.
Right. You don't choose to
God,
love your
you don't choose to love your kid.
Yeah, you're gonna love
So
no
God
matter what.
says, I want you to love me because you're choosing
Choose
to
to love
love
me.
me. I don't want you to love me because you have to. He says, I'll love you like a parent to a child. You're my children, I have to take care of you. I'm stuck with you. Right? But God says, I don't want you to love me because you have to. He says, I want you to love me because you're choosing to love me.
Wow.
Because you want to love me, not because you have to. And that's why God says, love me like a spouse. So that's really, I mean, that's really the whole story of mankind. Is
But
we're-
actually,
we're-
it's both ways. It's
Well-
a man and a woman. You
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
love- like the woman loves a man.
We'll get wait till we get to next week. Okay, but it's the idea is that really that God wants us to love Him like a parent, like a spouse. God wants us to choose to love Him, not because we have to, but because we want
to.
Right, and that's what God says. Love me because you want to love me. Right? Well, I want the relationship not because I'm stuck and you're the boss and you hold all the money and so therefore I need to come to you and ask you for it. I want you to love me because you want to love me. And when we can create a relationship with God out of choosing to love God and then understanding that everything that comes into the world is not, you don't ask the question, why does it happen? question is, what do we need to learn? Right? Then we can begin to solve what this world is all about, and we truly can become great people. And by the way, you can truly then go ahead and get the exodus from Egypt. Right? We talk about, and then we're talking about on Pesach. Then you really learn how to go ahead and to leave, right? To leave the confines of Egypt, right? Which is all stifling. It's all narrow and constrained because we're fighting the wrong race, right? And we could really go out and really learn how to serve God. Okay, folks, it's that same bat time, same bat station. We will see you all, God willing, next week. All right.
When is Pesach?